Well, are we ready to go?
We're ready.
I think we need to do this because this is awesome. This is the Texas Postgame podcast for two homers and a realist. I don't know where we're going to go with that, but there is a new reality in Norman. That is for sure. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm Steve.
I'm Connor.
Jay.
Lucas.
All right, we just returned. This is Sunday, the day following the most amazing comeback in the history of the OU-Texas rivalry. And the scoop said it was bigger than the OU-Baylor comeback. Is that true?
That's
is that
not
the biggest?
true.
Not true.
I think we were 25 down.
I thought we were 24, 25 down as well. Yeah, they said that. I didn't think that was true.
I also read it's the largest blown lead that Texas has ever
It
given.
was the biggest there. They've never given up a 21-point lead. That was pretty impressive that we could overcome that. Now, we had a lot of time to do it. I think what's more impressive is we came back from 18 down with, 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. That's much more impressive than 21 points at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Did you go to the game?
I was at the game.
I
was at the game
too.
It was my 38th straight OU-Texas game. I was at the game. I was in Dallas.
I was at the game.
Because we knew where it was going to be, so we were able to make plans and
Right.
everything and prepare. Mm-hmm. Connor was there. I saw him.
I don't miss games.
Yeah, he don't miss games.
I
I was
was in the
sitting a
end
little
zone.
bit in front of you. I saw
Happy
you,
place.
came down and saw you. It's Nolan's first game.
Nolan's first game.
Your son, it was Elise's first game. My third child, all three children now. She's starting at the same age I started, so she could go to all the games. She could break my streak. Jay.
Yes, I was
Checking
watching
in.
the television broadcast.
Jay didn't
So
miss
I could
the game.
update you guys on exactly what was going on replays.
He was our man on the outside.
Actually, it's a plan.
It was good. It worked out
So if
well.
you say, his foot was in, or
You do realize I have people for that. Like you are
I'm one
one
of
of
those
3 or 4 people. I ought to go back and grade you and the
You
other
should.
groups. There's
Great.
2 other groups of people that text me, and I want to see how spot on you
did
are
well.
versus
Is there
them.
speed
And
versus accuracy?
both are important,
okay.
and I bet you're actually right up there. I bet you're pretty. You're both. You don't have kind of the lose your mind anger stuff that the other group has, and so I can't
Maybe
get through
not
the
on the
facts.
text.
There's
But-
some of it, but like a lot of the facts just come through with you. With the others, they're kind of like giving me their doomsday scenarios.
I had several adult beverages.
I noticed.
By the time we were about 28-7, it was getting pretty thick, but I try to stay on top of my game.
Well, let's start breaking this down. Let's start with optimism, pessimism. After yesterday's performance by the Sooners and the victory 55-48 in a game that had everything, as Ava said, it was a game that she completely came to grips with as a loss. And she had already gone through the stages of grief, the denial, the anger, and everything. She had already processed it, and then all of a sudden we won. And I think all of us kind of went
You
through
were
that.
at
I
that
actually
point last
didn't.
week.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually didn't.
Shelby didn't
Did
either.
you
I'll
have-
give Shelby credit as well.
Yeah, I had hope. I knew there was a chance, but those kept getting dashed. And then we got to a point I'm like, this isn't going to work.
Well, it never quite got completely out of hand. So for me, the hope was still there because it was just they never broke into that like.
But honestly, to
It was
me,
the
Big
edge
lead.
of out of hand, 28-7.
It was
early.
but it was
Yeah, it was
early.
but still, that could have been really bad.
We didn't do anything in the
Okay.
first quarter, though.
So I sent you guys a text sometime during halftime, and I don't know if I was positive or negative on the text, but I'm thinking positive. It was something along the lines of, "We're still in this. We played
Yeah.
as absolutely
Yes.
as bad."
No, he
as
jumped on you, and I
physically
agreed
possible.
with you.
Like we
I
could
agreed
not
with
have
you.
played worse.
And my point of view was-
if one team can beat you that bad in a half,
Mm-hmm.
you can come back and beat them just as bad in the next half.
Especially when you're technically a better team
Yes.
with more talent. You don't think we're a better team than Texas still? You're going to hold on to that after your prediction proved wrong? So I agree with you, Jay. I think that there was at least glimmers of hope there that we could get to a point where we're going to be respectable, and this is before anything that we know happened. I was starting to have my doubts. I was starting to prepare myself for this. It wasn't where I was nervous, or it was like, wow, the bad has already happened. We're in one of those games, and let's just see if we can escape this and look better and see what we build, but see what the next steps are.
Yeah, I kept thinking there had to be a time that we were going to get some bounces or something
Right.
to turn our favor.
We did.
Yes. Now, I did get worried as we kept kicking field goals.
Yeah.
And as Riley kept not
It's true.
making it 2 down territories when it's
I
3rd
agree.
and 5. And we're like,
Yeah.
why are we not just...
We'll get into some
Running
definite
twice.
criticisms about that, but overall, it turned in a way that I'm going to say that I became exceptionally optimistic about this. I'm very optimistic about OU, very optimistic about our prospects and our future, and I'm talking long-term future. This season, I'm more optimistic now for this season than I was entering this game. As weird as it is, as weird as it was. Connor?
Yeah, same. Optimistic for sure. Like you said, not just from the short term and not just from yesterday, but from a long-term perspective. It was nice to see a coaching decision made that I think and of course we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
very optimistic about where we're headed as a team. It's crazy how, pulled together we looked after that happened.
Absolutely.
So, very optimistic.
Lucas?
I can't honestly say I'm more optimistic. I'd like
Are you differently?
if Caleb Williams is our starter from here on out, I will be more optimistic offensively. Defensively, we've got a real problem at corner. I mean, Jaden Davis got abused, and they brought in Cutchin. He is a freshman, right? Is he a true freshman?
Yeah, true freshman. True freshman.
I mean, he did his best, but you can still tell that there was a mix-up on one of the coverages, went for a long touchdown. He looks the part. He's tall. He's fast. He needs to learn to get his hands in there when he's covering somebody. But, I mean,
We definitely
we're
miss-
really in
we
bad
miss
shape
Woody
at corner.
Washington.
And we hate to keep talking about it because Burrows had a decent week last week. He looked like he was in the wrong position a few times, especially
Just
coming up
beat.
to stop the run.
Yeah, he's just physically out, man.
And
Boyles.
Turner Yell came in first to start the game, and then as far as I know, after the first play, he was out.
I think he got
re-aggravated
injured or
whatever.
aggravation.
Hamstring, yeah.
So I mean, and again, there was more Riley play calling. There was the play that worked 3 times was amazing that I've never seen before. Scored a touchdown on it to end the game.
Two touchdowns.
Scored another touchdown on it, but
And a
outside of
big game.
those, I mean, we're selling for field. It's 3rd and 5 from the 25
Well,
or
let's-
30, and we're not running the ball twice.
I think there's a bigger story there than that, though.
Burkett is fantastic. Thankfully, he's the best
Sure.
kicker in the country.
He's amazing.
But it's still like I just can't.
I think there's more to
optimistic
that
about this
to it
team
than
yet.
that. Not any more optimistic than you were entering the game.
I think I'm at the same level I was.
Same level, but differently.
Even though
It's gotta be
I had
different.
us losing,
Right?
which was looking pretty good.
Well, we're gonna talk about that in a
which I
second.
was not happy about, but
We're going to talk about your
if we
failures
go
in a
into
second.
if we go into this coming up week and we put it all together against a pretty decent TCU team, then I will say I'm more I'll be on the.
Jay,
track.
are you more optimistic or more pessimistic following yesterday?
I am more optimistic
Well,
just
yeah.
because I think we can win a shootout if we have to win a shootout,
So
which
I'm-
is what we just did.
What I would criticize my own thinking with is I was wrongly more optimistic than I should have been coming into several games and coming into the season, and we see that now with Caleb Williams. And that's what gives me a new realism on my optimism, that there's a reason to be optimistic. That wasn't there, that we hoped was there, but we should have very legitimately expected to be there, and we're told we should be optimistic about. We were told to believe in Rattler, and I think there was lots of reasons to believe in Rattler.
I
And
believed in him.
I
from
believed
the
in
end
him.
of last year.
I believed in him too. The way you finished last season.
And to be honest, I think that everyone should have believed in him.
We were also told the offensive line was going to be really good.
Yeah,
according to
that's a
Beano.
different
Normally he doesn't say
disappointment
that.
for me.
So then when he
Yeah.
came into the season really saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
these guys are going to be good," I was like, "Oh, sweet."
I feel like everyone was somewhat deceived and confused by what we saw out of Rattler, what we know is there, and I'm including Riley and everyone in this, and then what is truly going on with Rattler. I think that and I don't want to get too quickly into just the player and the QB, but I think he has been playing with an attitude or a style and demeanor that's very entitled and very scared of playing like he's got a lot to lose. And you can't do that. And Caleb, our new hero, plays just the opposite. He plays like he's got to earn every down. There's nothing to lose, everything to gain. And it's just a level of excitement and that I think his team rallies around. It's also got to put a lot of fear in opponents Because I'd want to play a guy like Rattler, who is afraid to take a hit, afraid to throw a pass that might get intercepted or might be incomplete, doesn't trust his guys, and gets tunnel vision as a result. I think he's just trying to bide his time and get to an NFL draft that is now a completely different picture for him.
I think he's been completely pressing the entire time because he sees what he sees in practice, and he knows that Caleb Williams is the real deal.
Right.
And I think he is completely looking over his shoulder every game this season, and it's just changed his whole
and worried about a mistake in that when
Absolutely.
you'll
He
make
didn't
mistakes.
have that with Mordecai last year, even
No.
though he
Right.
got benched at halftime.
Yeah,
Or before halftime
it
of
was
this game last year.
no one would have expected Mordecai's
Right.
going to finish that
Although
game.
He's kind of turning it up for SMU right now.
Right.
And honestly, I don't know that Lincoln's had to deal with this because Baker wasn't looking over his shoulder.
Right.
Kyler wasn't looking over his
The
shoulder.
veteran has always delivered.
Jalen wasn't looking over his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And Rattler didn't have to look over his shoulder last year.
Well, he shouldn't
and
have been
now
looking over
Lincoln
his shoulder,
has,
though, honestly.
This is his first season.
He's a
coaching a kid.
3-year guy. He shouldn't be ever looking over his shoulder in the situation. It speaks volumes about what he is not prepared for. And if I were an NFL scout, I'd be looking at that and saying, this guy can't be our guy. He's going to be too worried about whatever this game might screw up an endorsement deal for him. I don't know. Your mind goes to a lot of places when you look at how he's performed and what he might be clouding his judgment with. So I hate to be so down on him. I think he can still turn it around. He's got a lot of raw talent and a lot of developed skills, but he needs a sea change. And this might be kind of like Troy Aikman in 1985. This might be the best thing that could happen to him for his career. And he may end up somewhere else and have a very successful career, turn it around.
USC would love to have him.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about USC for sure. Well, let's talk about some players' positions, the rest of the quarterback play. Obviously, I don't think anybody's going to say Rattler's going to be a Heisman finalist. Can Caleb be?
No, it's too late.
Yeah, too late.
I think it's probably too late. Although Kyler was a late arrival in that group, too. It wasn't this late, but it was a late arrival.
But he accumulated stats.
He did have stats.
Yeah.
He did. And that's the key. He doesn't have the
I mean, he's
stats.
5 games in.
But if
I
it's
don't know. He
but
goes
if it's a
500 yards
sloppy
a game from
season,
here on out.
yeah,
It is a weird season.
It's a
though.
weird
Like,
season.
Who
Yeah.
are the Heisman finalists right now? If you had to name them, Bryce Young,
Yeah, Bijan.
Bijan. Yeah, I mean, God, if you want to
They
start
both
saying
took
later
hits
rivals,
yesterday.
let's talk about later rivals. Kennedy Brooks
Texas
is
has
a
3
later
losses
rival.
now.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I don't know. I think it's a long shot, but I think there's a possibility.
Be a fun story.
It'd be an awesome story. Other players' positions, and let's get into Lincoln Riley's decision making. Was he too late to see what we all witnessed in person yesterday?
You mean like the Texas fans on game day saying we want Caleb?
Don't you love
And
that?
then they got what
Got
they
what they
wanted?
wished for.
Yeah, how'd that turn out for you?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I don't think you can fault Lincoln for doing what he's done, but there is some clouded judgment there, I think. I think, in my opinion, he's not seen it completely objectively.
We're also not in practice every day. I mean, we don't.
True.
I mean, Caleb did throw up some passes and trust his guys like Mims to go get it.
Oh, man.
I mean, he made some decisions that were questionable.
But it wasn't triple coverage
That
decisions.
is true. But maybe in practice, he throws a few more of those liberally. And,
Maybe so.
And Riley just didn't trust him to take care of the ball.
Maybe.
But then after Spencer throws a pick and
A near
Stogner's
pick and
fault,
a
I
fumble,
guess,
and-
he threw
yeah.
another almost pick and then the fumble because he just in a crowd
Mm-hmm.
couldn't handle the ball. Maybe, just like last year, he made some mistakes and Riley's like, let's try something else.
I know it's not the case, but you look at that team after Caleb comes in and how they came together.
Oh, I think there's
there
something
was
to
like
that.
it was. I mean,
No, I think there's
it looks like
absolute
so much,
leadership.
So
Every-
much sabotage.
everyone
It's
sees
almost
it.
like we're sabotaging this
Yeah.
to get our guy. And I
Oh,
know that's
I don't
not the
think
case.
that's the
No,
case,
no, it's
but-
not the case.
no.
But I mean, you look how that look at the messed up route by Stogner. You look at how much better, in my opinion, the offensive line looked after Caleb Williams comes in.
Well, there
I
can
mean,
be a
it's
lack.
crazy.
Came in.
There can be a lack of a conscious decision to do that, but you're playing as if you're sabotaging because
Right.
you're not under
You're not
leadership.
bought in.
You're not bought in.
Yep.
Jay, what do you?
Yeah, no, it's very telling to see the team respond on both sides. I mean, even defensively, they seem like the fire was back in their belly. Like, okay, we actually win
They
this
just
game
play harder
with this
Was
guy
that you
in
who made
here.
that comment? They seem to play harder for him, Or is that another friend of mine?
But that was after the game. That was kind of
It's true.
post.
I mean, the defense would
looking
be like,
back
we
on
have
it.
a chance because this guy will
Yeah.
take a risk.
Let's get this guy
Instead
the
of-
ball
yeah.
because he's going to get us
He'll
back
throw
in
it
this football.
downfield, and he'll maybe make some craziness happen. And so the defense is like, we're going to play with more fire because we feel like we're still in this game and can
Yeah.
come back and win it.
Yeah, when you're a defense and you're playing your butt off and you're getting your offense the ball back and they keep not doing things with it, you start to lose that fire.
Yeah.
And it's not just fire. There's decision making both as a player and as a coach that you do differently when you're worried about what that offense can do. If you trust your other side of the ball, you're going to do things that you really would like to be able to do, but might be afraid to do if you don't trust them. And I think it comes down to how aggressive you can be, and both offensively and defensively. Look at how often you'll go for fourth downs when you know defense can hold. There's a good chance my defense holds here if we don't happen to pick up this fourth down. We don't have to punt and use yardage as our only line of defense here. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. Plus, I just think they have found a guy that maybe has more of the locker room that they can rally around. And if you're entitled, and I'm making a big accusation based on a lot of circumstantial evidence and hearsay, and a little bit of what you see in comments that directly Rattler makes, but I'm saying if he is behaving in an entitled manner, you see that as a player, as a person on the team. So that locker room probably sees it and reflects it.
That is your captain. I mean, you need someone who can stand fast
Absolutely.
with you and take blame when you're not even supposed to take blame. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy turn of events.
I mean, I saw a guy from the stands took a picture at 3:07, and all the whole team celebrating.
I sent that to you guys too.
Okay.
Yeah, when he's walking off.
And, the whole team celebrating at 3:07, and at 3:12, Rattler's walking down the tunnel, going to
by
the locker
himself.
room by himself, and the whole entire team's still out there doing the pictures and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
That speaks
I
volumes.
feel bad that he got the moment taken away from him, which was deserved, and then Caleb Williams, and also
Deserved to be taken away.
I saw people on Twitter saying, Caleb throws a touchdown, go to the sideline, Rattler's nowhere to be seen congratulating him.
Yeah.
Rattler's nowhere to be seen when Riley's doing the sideline before you take the field after a change of possession, and Rattler's 20 feet away from the huddle instead of being in there listening to what Riley's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if Caleb Williams gets hurt, Rattler's
Exactly.
going to go right back in there.
He needs to know what's being
He needs
said.
to be involved in that. I
Absolutely.
mean, Williams is involved in that when he's not
Yep.
playing. He's standing in the huddle,
The only one time I saw Williams dejected is after he ran the 60-something yard run, and the
didn't go back
the
in.
next drive, they're getting the offense together, and I see Williams walk out of the huddle by himself
Yeah.
to the bench,
With no
clearly
helmet on.
thinking, man,
What do I have to
I
do?
need to be the dude.
Yep.
And then 2 drives later.
And
he's
looking
in
back
the
at Rattler, we made a
So-
comment. I had noticed this, and you guys made a comment watching the highlight replay just a few minutes ago. You look at that flea flicker back to him that he throws for a pretty big gain, and he actually throws behind the receiver. But a lot of his stats come from sort of trash plays, goofy trick plays, gimmicky stuff, which I'm not opposed to gimmicks, but your whole offense can't be gimmicks. Not that kind of gimmick. I'd rather your gimmick
That's
be...
the only time you're hitting your open man.
Right. I'd rather your gimmick be that you keep abusing a player that's a weakness on the other team, and your gimmick is, well, yeah, obviously you're going to do that because that's the weakness.
Yep.
No, it is concerning on a deeper level as you break down where they're getting their stats and yardage and other numbers.
And we continue to see when Rattler's flush from the pocket and he's always looking downfield, he just never looks at the check down running back who might be
Yes.
just 6 yards ahead of him.
And we're in
but
game 6 and he's not doing that.
He could just pass it 6 yards to the running back near the sideline.
Game
and
two,
the running back
16 or
has
17
nobody
for him.
5 yards in front of him. If he makes one dude miss, maybe he's getting 20 yards.
By game 2 or 3, he should be seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're beating a dead horse maybe.
He played great the whole second half of the season, and he did stuff like that. But for some reason, this whole season, he hasn't done it at all.
I think it's more, in my mind, he's got this tunnel vision because he's trying to just make it too easy on himself. He wants it to be easy, and he wants to just get through to get to the next level.
I don't know enough about the true X's and O's to really break it down this far, but when you're running a zone read concept with a quarterback that actually doesn't keep the ball and go anywhere with it, I wonder what kind of disservice you are doing to that quarterback in terms of how the defense plays against you. Not only is that you're making the play a little longer. You're making your offensive line block a little longer. You're keeping a quarterback who might need his eyes down the field sooner, having to watch a defensive end.
None of it can work.
So all of it's, you just wonder, did he get a little bit of disservice from being in that kind of system? Like maybe Lincoln should have adjusted for that. And how much does it benefit or take a little bit of the load off when Caleb Williams comes in of the defense having to adjust for that?
Yep.
And having that extra guy to account for the quarterback leaves you easier passing lanes or less people to cover,
Right.
which is obviously what we all want. We're all okay with that. But
Well, I mean,
just between the two quarterbacks, like, if I'm Rattler, I might be a little ticked off that my scheme wasn't adjusted for maybe what I do best.
well, and you look at it, we talked about it in the first or second pod. You look at it and you hate to say Lincoln's stuck with a guy, but think how much Lincoln has grown as a coach and an offensive coordinator and an offensive mind since Spencer Rattler committed. And you look at yesterday, that playbook opened up quite a bit more when Caleb Williams comes in.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
very
lot-
well, like my friend Eric said. Sorry to interrupt,
you're
but
fine.
it's a great way of summarizing it. It looks like a Lincoln Riley offense.
Exactly. And that's my point. I think that is the guy who can run Lincoln Riley's offense.
Yeah.
I think Lincoln has tried to kind of retrofit this guy who doesn't necessarily have the tools to do it all. And it's been pretty apparent that that's the case. You even look at last week in K-State. Spencer Rattler is super efficient, right? Has a great game statistically. It's not a Lincoln Riley offense. We're still not getting the ball down the field vertically. There's not a lot there.
Well, it's very much back to the Troy Aikman analogy. So you look at 1984 and 1985, and Troy Aikman's playing for Oklahoma. He is not a good fit in a Barry Switzer offense. Barry Switzer changed the offense for him, and there was success there, but they were not as successful as what they could be if everything else was together. It's very hard to run a pro-style set in college. And that was something back in the Aikman days, that was what needed to happen for Aikman to have the most possible success. And of course, he did not win a national title and did not compete for one at UCLA because it is very difficult in college to have all the elements you need to have that kind of a package where you protect a quarterback, etc.
Yep.
And I think on the scoop they referred to Rattler as more of a statue quarterback, and that is a lot of what he is. He's got a great arm. He's got minimal escapability. It's better than the worst, but it's definitely not as good as maybe even the average successful quarterback. So it's just asking a whole lot, and maybe this is another criticism of Biedenbow and others. We don't seem to have the either strategy or the talent to build an offensive line that can do a max protect and just sit back and pick off receivers. Pick off, find receivers and be able to complete
Yeah, Rattler
passes
still might go on
downfield.
and have an incredible NFL career. Right? Who
Absolutely.
knows? I mean, he has the talent. He gets in a scheme where he's got protection, he's got time to throw the football, he's got all the arm talent there is. So, and someone will want to coach him up. And if he is humbled and listens, I don't see why he can't play for a long time.
Yeah, so
It's just not what we want in
Yeah.
this offense.
Do you think Riley just missed when he was recruiting, thinking he could run better?
Probably.
Not necessarily be Kyler Murray, but did you think he could just be more mobile than he actually is?
I don't know if he-
I thought he would be.
I thought he would be.
I don't know if he knew he wanted someone that mobile yet.
Yeah.
That's true. That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
That was his
what,
first
back in
guy to
2016
talk
or
to.
2016,
Yeah.
something like that.
And
I think once he discovered Baker being able to make his plays in the pocket
Escapability.
and then having a Kyler, I think it just blew his mind what
That's
this
a
can be with having a
once-in-a-generation type
Kyler.
guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
he
just
may
that kind.
he
right?
may not even understand
Right.
how important that is, because he may see the running game that's really successful and not realize that running game's partially successful because your quarterback is a dual threat.
I mean, look what Hurts did. I mean,
Yeah, look at
some
what,
of you fans don't love Hurts, but what they did,
but still
scheme-wise,
very successful.
Yeah,
Yes,
very successful.
From what he looked like as a quarterback from Bama to what he looked like
Yeah,
for us was just night and day.
yeah.
No, I think that we haven't had running success the first part of the season the way we've had running success always through a Riley offense, and now all of a sudden in this game, because you've got another option, it gets back to what you were saying about the zone read and everything and the disservice you're doing to your entire team, not just the quarterback. When a defense knows that guy's not running, if he runs, I can catch him. It's not a threat. So I think it's really important, and I get back to something I said a long time ago, so this must be right, that one time early last year, or might have been actually in 2019, but Rattler is in, and he tries to put a juke move on a guy. I think it was last year against K-State. But regardless, he tries to put this move on this guy, and it's just laughed at as he tackles him. And it's like, you're not fast enough. That I'm not a high school kid in whatever it is, 4A in Arizona. You're not getting by me with that. So he may have looked like he was a running quarterback because of the competition he was playing when Riley saw him as a high school kid. And then he gets to this level, and it's clear he's just not the same running threat.
Yeah, I just think Riley didn't know that's what he wanted.
Yeah. Well, let's not dwell on him too much, but you got something?
I got a question about the running game.
All right.
Okay, so you said we haven't been running the ball obviously very well at all. This game we exploded, especially Kennedy Brooks. We've all wondered the whole season why Brooks hasn't started the game. Gray's been the first running back out there the whole game. I mean, every game so far this season until this game. So my question is with Marcus Major coming back, is that the reason they decided to run Brooks more yesterday?
Because you have some depth.
Because you have an extra person that you didn't have before as far as depth, or was it one of those, we're saving all this for Texas? That's what I wondered the whole game because, I mean, what do you have, 25 rushes?
I can't see how you could say or think anything in regards to saving it for Texas.
I agree.
Just from the same point.
Because all the games are close.
There's no way he was putting Caleb Williams in for Texas either.
Well, we have been known to not use certain plays.
No,
like the play we ran 3 times.
That might have been saved for Texas.
Right, but think about, I mean, now 5 of the 6 games we played against, 5 games we played against FBS teams, our total margin of victory is 28 points. How many games in the past against FBS teams do we win by 28 in one game? This year they've been so close.
And not because of bad defense.
Yeah, not because of defense. It was lack of offense. So, I mean, it has to be the Marcus Major coming back and having the extra depth.
I don't think so.
That he was going to start running anymore.
Well, he
I
didn't
think
play
it's
Marcus Major, so I don't know how Marcus Major could have influenced
because I think
that.
it was like if we
someone
lose
goes
Brooks,
down,
then instead of only having Gray for the rest of the game,
We
and
do have
then
someone
Knowles
else.
and Hudson, but there's tiny backs. They're not pass blockers.
Maybe.
That maybe have a Major
I don't think so.
as a
I don't think that
emergency
changed.
running back.
I don't
let's
think
say.
so.
I just think it was the
don't think
magnitude
so.
of the game, period.
I don't see how you can
Ball
not
security,
not do it this whole season.
Been in the game before.
So I don't know what
this
you're really
environment.
getting at then, I guess.
I'm saying they gave Brooks 25 carries.
Right.
When the previous games he's been barely used.
Oh.
Against teams that we needed offense.
Barely.
We were
You say barely,
winning
but
these games.
it's been more balanced between the two. So I think what you're getting confused by as you look at that stat
don't
line
think I'm
is
confused.
I think you're fairly confused. Maybe medication's required, but I think that you have to keep into mind we haven't run the ball like this against anybody, and so everything
I think that's partially
changed.
attributed to the fact
But
that
the
we
game
didn't have
plan
another running
changed.
back just in case.
So I don't think it's because, keep in mind, Marcus Major coming back, you're saying just because he's available that he could play if Brooks got hurt?
If Brooks got hurt,
So
we still have two running backs.
I
that
don't
have
think Riley's
experience.
that dumb. I don't think he's so dumb to think
Think
that
about
as
all
we're...
the 3-man formation, the 3-man
I
fronts
know.
we faced this season. We
No,
haven't
I-
run the damn ball.
So you don't
Why
think-
would
you
you
don't
do it
think
against
I get it.
Texas's 4-man?
You don't think he's
front?
had the running backs on a snap count the first
I
part
think
of
he
the
has
season?
100%.
I think yes.
Well, if he has, I don't think it's for the reason that you're thinking. I don't think he's thinking, I can't get one of the 2 running backs hurt against K-State or against Nebraska and risk whatever happens with just one running back, and I will lean on this one running back that I really want when Marcus Major's back. And I'm going to change my entire scheme. And
I don't think it's 100% that, but I think it's probably 70%. Him having an emergency running back to help fill in if we lost one.
I think you
I
realize
think
that
he's just not run the ball as much as he normally would have if we would have had 3 guys like we have every
No.
other year he's been here.
No, I think when you need to substantiate that hasn't run the ball as much. We have run the ball nearly as much, I think, in every game, except for the fact that we just weren't as successful running the ball, or that opportunity wasn't there. A lot of that is just it's dependent on a bunch of factors. One of them is going to be if you've got an extra running back that you can depend on, but the other is what the defense is giving you. And this could be Riley's mistake, what he thinks this offense can produce with Rattler, and he's been wrong game after game after game. I don't think he's in the back of his mind going, I can only clock these guys so many times, and I need each of them to get whatever they've been getting. Pull up the stat. I bet they've been getting 15 or 20 carries a game.
Well, the percentage-wise, Lincoln's been in that 53, 54% run to pass.
Right, and we've been 40,
and now we're
60.
in the 47% run to pass.
That's not that different.
Well, it's probably 10
over
carries.
a 5-game stretch.
Right? Maybe, I don't know.
It's not that. No, it's not that different. 53 to 47%. That's not that different at all. That's just a few. That's just a few decisions on what you're.
Well, he
you're
still
doing.
became a passing team this year.
Yes, for sure.
until-
I think that was because Rattler. That's not because of a lack of a running back.
And
depth.
this game was more along the lines of what we would see in other times when we have a first and second down bigger running back
Yes.
and a third down kind
Because
of a
we've had a quarterback in this game similar to quarterbacks in the past, not Rattler. I think it's all about Rattler versus Caleb Williams. I don't think it has. I don't think anything in the game plan was we're going to give the ball to Kennedy Brooks 25 times, and now we finally can do it because Marcus Major's back eligible. I don't think that enters his mind at all in that strategy. I don't think so.
Agree to disagree.
We'd have to ask him. I don't know why he would look at it that way.
I think because if Brooks went down, Gray's your only guy out there with experience. Your other two running backs are little tiny dudes that can't pass block. So then you have to pass. Then you're in a Texas Textile offense when if it was down to just Hudson and Knowles, you're looking at passing the ball 80% of the time because running the ball more because they can't pass block.
I don't see that at all. Basically, you're saying that they're going to run the offense they want to avoid running if the guy gets hurt. So it's like a catch-22. He's running. They're therefore running the offense that he wants to avoid having to run if the running back's hurt.
I think
That
Gray's
doesn't make
gotten the
sense
ball
to me.
more this season than he would have if we would have.
I think it's a
had
mystery
third running
why
back.
he's gotten the ball as much as he has versus Brooks, as well as the fact that he hasn't started.
Yeah, I think
it's
Brooks.
injuries.
I think Brooks got the carries this week because it is the Texas game. But I think the snap count has been limited up to this point, and maybe it won't be. From
When you
here
say
on.
the snap count, you mean the actual number of times they're carrying the ball?
Yes.
Handoffs?
and who's getting the ball between the two. Like I think if we would have had a third running back this whole time that had experience, which Major has some, and can pass block, I think some of these other closer games, Nebraska, West Virginia, K-State, I think we run the ball
think
with
so.
Brooks more than splitting carries between the two.
You
I
could be knocking the
don't
rust
think so.
off of Brooks too.
I don't think so.
He did take the year off.
But to all appearances, he didn't lose. He wasn't rusty at all. So I go back to, I don't think Lincoln Riley's so stupid as to think, one, I can't run this guy. I think the only reason he didn't start is maybe a disciplinary move for setting the year out last year. In my opinion, I don't think he changed. I think he changed it because Caleb Williams is a different quarterback than Spencer Rattler. Okay. That's why. And I think the running would have reflected it. I think you could have had two more running backs. I don't think.
What do you
it
think,
mattered.
Tom?
I see it both ways, but I think there has been a limit on the running backs, honestly. I don't know what game it was. I don't remember if West Virginia we were complaining about the lack of carries that they were getting, or I feel like there was a game that we were sitting here saying, why are we not running the ball? And I don't know. It's just I see where you're coming from, Steve, with the different. You have two different schemes essentially, and your ability to run the ball may be better with Williams in there, but I do think the lack of depth has played a role in some of those decisions up to this point. I don't know if it's to the extent to say we have Marcus Major now, we're completely going to we're going to up our carries, but I do think there was some cautiousness from Riley to say, I think we can win with limited carries to our running backs, and I'm going to try to do that. And
I don't disagree with
against the
that.
earlier teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
I
that.
mean, yesterday, if we only had one running back on the team, I think they were going to get 25 carries.
Brooks
As long as they were getting yardage,
right?
Yeah.
that game is.
And that'd be true
that
in
game
every
is
game.
exclusive. I think that game's exclusive to other games.
But I don't think it's a special thing about Texas. I think it was a special thing about success. And so if we had had success running the ball in any of these other games, I think we've all criticized and been screaming, run the ball more, and we should have been throughout this year. But that was one thing among many things that we were doing wrong.
But why are they running Gray between the tackles against West Virginia, Nebraska, Kansas State, when he's obviously the outside guy?
I don't know.
think they've
I
been
don't-
saving Brooks.
I don't think
because
that's
they just
necessarily
didn't
outside.
want injury.
I don't
Until they
see-
had a third back.
Well, if that's the case, the guy needs to give back part of his $7.5 million salary because you cannot save a guy for Texas and nearly lose 3 other ball games. That doesn't
Yeah,
make
I don't
any
think he was
sense.
saving for Texas. I think he was waiting until we had a
Could have been the whole
competent
season.
running back.
I mean, now it's going to be even better if you're going to have a quarterback that takes 5, 6, 7 of those
Right.
runs off your tailback.
I don't
Yeah.
think Kennedy Brooks can have 25 carries every game.
Well, that's
but
my
I think there's
point.
games where
I think it's
he
about
had
the
10
quarterback
and
and
Gray
not
had
about
8,
the game plan.
when I think now he may have 17.
Well, of course, because
Or 18.
everything is, well, and we're coming into the season where things are. You look back at the composition of every Lincoln Riley year, and this is true for other teams. That changes throughout the year because they develop skills and lean on things. They discover what they're good at, and they get better at certain things, and they start working towards those things they're really good at. I don't know. I don't think it's the case that he was like. I don't know what I guess I don't know exactly what the accusation is, but I don't feel like he was saying we're only going to run. And look up the stats. I bet it's not that different. If you say it's 47% of the time we're running the ball, and now we ran it against Texas 53 or like that's like doesn't sound like a statistically
I
meaningful
think there were just some more
difference.
I thought you were talking
there
about
were some
previous years we
more
ran 50.
I'm
meaningful
talking about different
runs.
season by
Previous
season.
seasons ran 50%.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
no, I know
This
that.
time we're running 47%.
Yeah, and I think that's Spencer.
I think 6%
I think
over a
that's Spencer
5-game period
Rattler.
is a
I
big
think that's
difference.
Spencer Rattler.
Okay.
Because if you want that stat to have meaning, you need to take out the running of the quarterback. And we definitely didn't run the ball very much with Jalen Hurts outside of Jalen Hurts. Oh, so you admit defeat?
Nope.
So prior to the
argument.
Texas game, we had ran 153 runs this season, 140 last year, so
Okay.
even less last year. 173 with Jalen. We had ran it 237 times up to this point with Kyler, and 184 in 27.
Right, but
2017.
so
So we're actually
But Kyler's probably only
so
rushing
you've got to adjust that stat for 2 things. One is the number of plays. 2 is you've got to take the quarterback rushes
Right,
out,
quarterback.
and then we might get to
right.
And the number of
something we
plays
can
has hurt
actually
us.
talk
We've
about.
had a half with 3 possessions last week.
Yeah,
I mean, so that's
Something similar with Nebraska.
yeah,
yeah.
Something
Yeah.
similar with West Virginia.
yeah.
Well, let's criticize Riley a different way then. I think his clock management continues to be suspect. I think that I don't understand why he's playing for the field goal, it seems, at the end of the game. And not just that, it's like he wants a dramatic long field goal.
Into the wind, 20-mile-an-hour wind.
We have at least 15 more seconds to work with if he calls a timeout when he should. Aside from the things that those different players did, Caleb Williams is obviously inexperienced. He was running too much clock and didn't realize, I think, at one point the clock was running after a first down.
Yeah.
That may have been when Stogner didn't get out of bounds when he should have. But all that regardless, I felt like Riley should have called a timeout.
And we finished the game with a timeout still in hand.
Yeah, in a time where you could pick and choose. Hey, it all works out,
Yeah.
but there's too many times it kind of all works out. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's a worry. Do you think he's going to start Caleb against TCU?
I think it's a mistake if you don't.
I think it's a mistake if he doesn't too.
It's
What
a
do you-
disservice to your
What's your
team.
probability?
I would give it a probability. I'll give it a percent confidence. I would say 75% sure that he will start Caleb on Saturday.
What do you say, Jay?
wow. I think it would be entertaining, to say the least, if Rattler runs onto the field first.
Well, for those of us at the game, it will feel that way.
Yes, I will be at the game.
Oh, okay, good.
You might get a riot in the stands.
You
if
might
Rattler
get a
trots out on the
they
field
might
on
have
Saturday.
to. I'm not sure what they'd have to do, but I just think from a team standpoint, it just seems crazy if you don't.
What do you do?
Honestly,
What
I
do
don't
you
know
do
if
if you're Riley though? What do you do? You talk to your captains? Like, do you talk to your captains?
No.
And no, you don't let it be a team thing at all.
Nope. You can't let it be a team
You
thing
can't,
because
you
it wouldn't have been
can't.
the same
He's
thing.
not
as
going to
it
have to
was.
tell
right.
anybody because they're going to see who gets the reps in practice.
Well, of course, right? Yeah.
So
I don't know.
But he's
I
got to
have
make a
to say
decision.
anything.
I could see split reps in practice.
I could see that too.
50-50?
I could see a 50-50 split in the reps at practice.
Do you think that is politics, or do you think that is Riley deluding himself, or do you think that's just a good decision by a coach?
I think it's a bad decision. I think you need to get your
So
guy.
is he deluding himself, or is he doing politics, or is it both?
I think it's politics to show that
You're not giving up
He
on the
still
guy.
cares
didn't
about
just
Spencer.
lose your entire career on the field yesterday.
Right.
you still have a shot. How you do in practice,
Earn it.
whoever plays best in practice
What do we think
is going to play.
What do we think the count's been between? Do we have any guesses about Rattler versus Williams? 70-30, 80-20?
Yeah, it's usually 80-20.
Yeah, 80-20
and-
would my guess.
That'd be my guess.
70-20, and you leave some for a third.
I could see 50-50 at least to say we're still going to figure things out. We got a more experienced guy here. But I think a lot of that's politics. I'd give it an 80 to 90% chance that Caleb Williams is the starter. What do you think, Lucas?
I mean, I'd like that to be the case, but I don't know. With the whole fans chanting 2 weeks ago, it would be shocking if he started Rattler because the whole student section immediately would start chanting,
Yeah.
"We want Caleb."
Yeah.
I almost don't even know it would matter how well Rattler was doing. I mean, I think the chanting and the harassments and
Yeah.
the boos might not even stop.
Yeah, well, at the very beginning of the game when he come out for the
Oh,
first drive.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, you could have a third of the crowd booing the decision for him to
Right.
take the field.
I think you
Right.
have probably
Yeah.
more than a third of the crowd. I truly think it would be
Most of the
a
crowd.
bad look on ABC at 6:30 p.m. on prime time
Yeah.
to have a
Again.
large number of fans.
How many of
chanting.
us would be chanters or booers at that point?
I can't do that.
I might do it. That'd
so?
be a bad decision. Like, I don't think my initial would be, but man,
I would be furious
I'd be
in the
furious,
stands.
and at some point, I'm starting thinking I need to do that to express
Yeah.
it. How else do I express to you in your
you're wrong.
shut-off world that you're wrong?
Yeah.
I couldn't boo. The only time I've ever booed an OU team was
2014.
Mike Stoops Baylor.
2014.
Running the same play 6 times.
How
in a
is
row.
this different?
Because, I mean, at
So
that
you'd
point,
be,
the
you'd be
player,
booing Lincoln.
I'd be booing.
Yeah,
Not
you're booing.
I was
Lincoln.
booing Mike Stoops.
Yeah,
Right,
we're
you're
booing
booing
Lincoln.
Right,
If people
but-
boo this next week, I think it'll be at
But
Lincoln.
then Rattler's fragile mind at that point would obviously think everybody's booing him and not the decision of Rattler.
Well, and I'd worry about that. I'd worry about that.
I mean,
I've said this before that
let Rattler check out because if Caleb Williams starts, every game from here on out, but happens to get an injury in a game,
right. No.
we can't
Agreed.
go to who's our third string
Yeah,
guy?
that's Riley's-
I don't know his
And
name.
that's
I have
Riley
no
being a
idea.
good
Ralph-
coach
Ralph
if
Rucker?
he splits
Ralph
it the right
Rucker.
way.
No thanks.
But starting him, playing him is not the same thing as that. I think my argument for and against booing is against it. It is such a blunt and sloppy way of communication. There's no nuance. You're not really able to express what you're booing. Am I booing Rattler? Am I booing the coaching decision? Am I booing the fact that I don't like the way the hot dog tastes? No one knows what you're booing.
Did you boo
when
Texas
boo.
yesterday?
I did boo Texas.
Did they know what you were booing?
They know about how they worship a cow. And
I was
they're-
booing the bathroom situation.
I was booing
actually,
Texas
so.
yesterday.
Yeah, I was booing that too. So on the other side, that's our only means of communication with that group. They need to hear our point of view. So I could see the idea that you're going to boo. I don't think we can just completely dismiss it as we're supposed to passively sit back and just take whatever they put out there without any objection. I think it would be a mistake to start Rattler. I don't think he will. I do worry that he's going to play politics too much, and I also worry he'll be deluded and think that Rattler might be the guy. I worry about a dual quarterback system that he might try to entertain for a while, and that will. And we are into the meat of the schedule in the sense of the really juicy, easy to digest. We're going to beat these teams, and it may look really good. Rattler looked really good against Western
I
Carolina.
don't know if you can do like a dual
don't
quarterback
think so at
system.
all.
I mean, just in general, I don't think he can do it because you might not want to piss off the Rattler household or Rattler himself, but you don't want to piss off
Caleb.
the Williams household either.
Yeah.
Of the two, you probably need
Yeah.
to make sure that you're
Williams.
taking care of Williams first.
Absolutely.
Or the Malachi Nelson household with the way you handle it.
How you handle this exactly. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Riley can simply point to the fact that on the field, this guy did better. He's going to play until he doesn't.
It's a hot hand.
And you can't argue that as an incoming recruit, as a current player on
I don't
the
think
team.
there's any way an
or any
incoming recruit
position.
would have a problem with this.
Right.
I think an
That's the
incoming
only way you
recruit would
can
have a
handle it.
problem with Rattler getting undue
Yes.
Yep.
playing time.
Unearned,
Exactly.
unearned reps. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so, and I really respect Riley. I think he's in a delicate. It's a tough decision. It's a tough situation, or not, it's not a tough decision. It's a tough thing to execute. It's a tough
I'm
thing
sure.
to do.
I feel terrible for Rattler.
I feel very
I'm
terrible.
I'm sure it makes Lincoln Riley sick.
Oh, totally.
But like I said, I very much appreciate, and just like we appreciated it last year, I very much appreciate a coaching decision being made. and something actually beneficial towards the whole team, as opposed to this loyalist mentality that we're kind of speaking of right now. So I hope he continues to have that mindset, that kind of who's not only got the hot hand, but who's better.
Yeah.
I mean, from what we saw yesterday, it's not very hard to see who's better, at least right now.
And you have to keep Rattler engaged because Caleb, he could have a terrible game.
I don't know. That's.
I don't think you're
I don't
replacing.
foresee it.
I don't think
That's
it's
the
a
hard
terrible
part.
thing.
That's the hard part.
I don't think it's a terrible game worry. I think it's a injury worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas.
I will point out in the 2002 season, or no, 2001 season, Hibble got hurt.
Hibble White.
White came in, won the game at Texas. The next game was in Lawrence because I went. And Hibble started the game. And he came, and I was in the Kansas student section, is where my tickets were. And Hibble comes out and has two or three just horrible drives that go nowhere. And I think Kansas scored maybe, but the Kansas student sections,
Yeah.
I mean, there was me and two other people in our OU fans in the whole student section. And it was all about, you guys suck this year. You're never going to be good again like you were last year. Blah blah. Hypo's gone, and all this stuff. And Stu pulled Hibble after the I want to say third series, put White in, and if my memory serves, he threw like 5 touchdowns to Trent Smith.
To Trent Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at that game in the end zone, and it seems like everyone was
And
coming
it was
in my
immediately
direction.
after White had come in
Yeah.
and won the
Yeah.
Roy Williams won that game.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. The old
went
Stoops
back to
problem
Hibble.
of finding the right quarterback and being wrong about it so
I
many
mean,
times.
he's not Mike Gundy.
No, he's not
That
Mike
guy's missed
Gundy
it
level of
every
wrong.
time.
Yeah, but
Every
that is interesting.
But is that the same situation this week?
I don't think so. But man,
I don't think so either.
I think there's such a
If we
stark.
weren't at home, maybe. If we were on the road at Kansas,
Yeah, that's what I want.
Rattler might be in the game. I don't know.
Because I was kind of surprised that Hibble did start that game against Kansas, but I was even more surprised that after 3 series or whatever it was, White got out there and just lit him up, and then he was the starter until he got hurt.
it was such a stark difference. But it was
Yeah.
kind of like yesterday. It
Yeah.
was a stark difference.
So this has precedence.
It does. It's weird. I wonder if he's leaned on Bob any in this decision. Like call him up and say, what do I do?
Bob had a pretty good
What
day
do you
yesterday.
think?
Bob had a great day yesterday.
Yeah. So
OU wins. His son catches a 2-point conversion
Right.
to tie it up.
well, not just that.
Iowa wins.
He had key
Oh,
blocks.
the block on the final run. It wasn't
blocks.
pretty,
Yeah.
but he just put enough body on that guy.
And Mark Stoops
for
won
him to make the corner.
at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Big
was
day for the Stoops
big.
family.
Well, I heard that Mike saved a bundle on car insurance too, so it was a good day all around. Well, let's transition to looking forward into the future, which we're doing a little bit of. But so we are, the polls have come out, so we won't get to predict those, and the lines have come out on the game.
I haven't seen the
I
line.
haven't seen it yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
I haven't seen it either.
Well, then give me your predictions. I'll tell you who's right and who's wrong.
6:30 game TCU.
Yeah.
Let's see, they are 3-2. Let's see.
I like we get to hear what goes into his mental
Now,
calculation.
they lost to SMU. Who else?
I say 17.
Texas. What was their score yesterday? They beat somebody.
Against Texas Tech?
They
Yeah.
beat them by 20 or something like that,
They're
maybe.
doing pretty good.
I'm going to say OU is a 12-point favorite.
Jay?
I'll go 9.5.
12-point favorite.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Somebody is the
I
prediction realist
actually
here.
thought I was going low because I honestly thought it might be like 18 or something crazy.
I liked
With
Connor's
not knowing who the
number
quarterback's
going
gonna
into
be.
it. I thought 17.5 was more of what it could be, should be. I like us at 12. I think that it's
I'll be taking that.
it looks to me like we got a lot of opportunity
What are we
to.
against the spread this season? 2-4?
2-4. That's right. I was just looking at that stuff earlier, and things have turned around. Now, if you're doing that, everything's different because we're a different team offensively now.
Well, so do you
Caleb
think
Williams starts.
there's any clarity this week? Any indication of who we're going to get at quarterback, or is it going to be a?
His press conference on Tuesday.
He's not going to give us anything
He's
on
not going to
Tuesday.
give us
There's no way.
It's too close to the vest.
And at that point, that's the only time he's really talking to the media.
Yep.
So, I mean, clearly we'll be scouring boards
have
and
the
stuff
Big
like
12
that.
conference
But
call.
yeah, Big 12.
It'll all be
conference call.
guesswork. It'll be guesses.
I think it'll be whoever we see trot out on the field.
Yeah.
That's when we'll know.
But Rattler's still team captain, so he'll be out there for the coin toss, and then he'll have to go to the bench.
Is he a
Taylor
team
Williams comes
captain
out.
by default? How did he
Yes,
earn that?
For sure.
There's
I thought
no
they
way
vote.
his.
It's a player's vote.
Yeah,
They do, but the quarterback's always the guy. We all know that.
Well, it surprises me, and he'll stay a captain. But it just is surprising to me that he's somehow earned that.
Well, you hope he understands what that means.
Yeah, you do. It's
Coming
a
off the
real.
field without everybody else yesterday.
Yeah.
Kind of shows me he doesn't.
It's a real moment to see what as he faces this kind of adversity, how he reacts to it. So, going forward, what is the outlook from each of you in terms of optimism, pessimism, in terms of us being a Big 12 title winner and playing in that game at all, as well as being a playoff team? Jay?
I think we're in a better spot than we were. It's just the offense, if it looks like it did yesterday and continues, and you would think that he would even get more comfortable and it becomes more like a Lincoln Riley offense. Our defense doesn't have to play above and beyond what they're capable of doing right now, because we can win some shootouts if we have to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to buy us more time to get DTY healthy, Redmond back,
Woody Washington.
Woody Washington, anybody else, any of those rotational guys. But those are three starters
Yeah.
that we obviously miss because the secondary, you're down two of them, and it's just not
Yeah.
the same.
Mm-hmm.
But if the offense starts to humming like it should and look more normal, and the defense, the defense just doesn't play a complete game. But if they play a complete game, we're talking about really romping some people. We're still Big 12 champions. I don't think I have any doubt, honestly.
OU's not losing a game in the regular season. It's not going to happen.
You've been consistent with that since day one.
I will remain
He's
with
been
that take.
consistently correct
So-
since day one.
We will be Big 12 champs. We will make the playoff. I'm not going to go predict beyond that.
I expect us to play in the Big 12 title game. I think that we will be the favorite in it. So I'm predicting that it is very likely we win the Big 12. So that's not changed for me at all. In fact, I'd say it's improved. Again, I go back to the way I was feeling about it before, that I was wrong about how optimistic I was that we would be playing for it and winning it back when I was hoping that Rattler was coming along. Now I see a difference that's just so stark in a game that is so such a good test, which is what Texas is for OU. And so I'm more optimistic than I should have been before about us. I think that makes us a playoff team for sure, and I think that puts us in a pretty good spot to compete in the playoff. So I'm pretty positive about all that. Lucas?
I still think we lose a game, and we go
So you said if we beat Texas on the midweek pod,
I
you
feel
said if we
better
beat
about
Texas, you
Yeah.
feel better that we
we
you
may
don't
not
think
lose a
we'll
game.
lose again. So you're still of the opinion that you think
I'm
it's still there.
Yeah, I still think it's there.
So-
I think defensive injuries really hurts, and the uncertainty.
I think the
with what Riley's
uncertainty.
gonna do.
I hope we get that. The sooner we settle that and we know what
Yeah.
we're going to have going forward,
help.
the more confident I will be as well.
I'm worried about Baylor being better than we thought, and that's on the road.
I think Dave Aranda does a great job, too.
And I think the OSU game, we're always better than them, but you just never know in
Silly
Stillwater.
stuff happens.
Just reading them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And injury-wise, better than the season.
I still
you
worry
know
about
what's
Iowa
happening.
State.
Yeah.
Iowa State's played better against us defensively
Yeah.
than anybody has for years.
They will. They'll play well. They'll play well against us.
So, Big 12
Big
title
12
game?
title, yeah. I think we win the Big 12. I felt that way the whole season, but I thought we would have one or two losses.
So, playoff team?
Playoff.
It's looking better now that Bama got beat.
It's looking better since Bama lost. I mean, still think Bama and Georgia both get in if they both have a loss. Bama has two losses. If they lose to Georgia in the SEC, that opens up a slot. Oregon losing opened up a slot. So I think there's a better chance than previously of getting in, even with one loss.
Yes, I agree with that. Don't you think that we need to update for the fact that we are now 6 games into the season, halfway through the regular season,
How crazy.
to say that we're going to lose 1 or 2 games? You've been saying that since Tulane. you're running out of chances. It seems like you're
Now
getting.
it's one game.
If it's okay, so at least you're cutting that in half.
Right. I was
Not
worried
being
going
more
into the season
pessimistic.
about K-State, Texas, Iowa State, and OSU. And I said between those
Okay.
four, I felt like we would lose two but still make the Big 12 championship. Now we've knocked out the K-State and Texas out of that equation. And, I mean, I'm still leaving it. I'm kind of moving Baylor into the Iowa State spot and saying one of those two
So if
teams
you were
could
doing
cause
an
trouble, could cause
over/under
trouble.
for the next 6 games,
I'd say 5-1. If you went 5.5 is the number, I would
5.5,
say under.
you would say under.
Because I think we lose a game.
I think 5.5 is a really good over/under for us, and I would take the over, but
Right.
I'm rooting for OU, so it's hard for me to take the under. You're rooting against OU, so it's easy
I'm
for
not-
you to take
I would
the
much
under.
rather be wrong.
What about you two? If
How rare
5.5
it is.
over/under.
Over.
I would take the.
That's not counting the championship game, though, right?
No.
That's regular season.
No, just regular season.
I would take the over, but I don't feel great about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I feel better about it now than I did after Nebraska.
I hope what happens. I hope we don't. We are high as hell right now. Like I am still high off of the win yesterday. I hope we don't go into this TCU game, especially this week. It'll be a great
The
indicator.
Texas hangover.
And I hope we don't get like even if Williams starts, I hope it's not this like what am I watching here?
Yeah,
Like,
where
type
was
of,
the other part?
holy
Yeah.
cow? Like man, the shoe really dropped. But I think
He
if
throws
you
a lot of jump balls and
Yeah.
they go the wrong way.
I think you can. I think if you get past this week with a solid win, and I think you're really setting yourself up with. You got Kansas the next week, and then Texas Tech Halloween weekend, and then you get a bye. You're setting up for a great November,
Championship
a
November.
fun November of Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State going into the Big 12 championship. So
I mean, that's a pretty decent little stretch right there.
those 3 weeks are that's an interesting 3
You've
weeks.
got to bring your game for those.
and
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think you're right.
in Big 12 standards, it's a pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's in
I guess I'd rather have
world
that
of
than
college
Kansas
football
State,
standard.
Texas.
It's pretty average. I mean, it remains to be seen. I don't think Oklahoma State's a very good football team.
And some of
I
the
think
stuff I've
Iowa State
seen of
was
their
overrated
rankings.
coming into the season. They're the toughest team of all those.
Yeah.
Baylor was maybe underrated, and they're still not very good. I don't know, but it is in Waco, and wacky things happen in Waco, almost as wacky as Lubbock. So yeah, I still think that we are a team that could get beat. Now I'll say that we could get beat reasonably by Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Baylor. I think that's it. I don't think we reasonably can get beat by TCU, Texas Tech, or Kansas. Maybe I'm wrong about TCU. That's about the only one I'd give you a chance on. But Tech is a bad football team,
Tech
and
is
Kansas
really,
is
really
not a
bad.
football team.
Texas Tech and Kansas may be a really good game this year.
It actually might be, from what we've seen so far, relative scores and everything. Who do you want to face in the Big 12 title?
Texas.
Connor's fast with the Texas. Lucas. Jay.
Kansas.
Kansas.
Easiest victory.
That is actually the right answer.
I think you want to play the least talented team you could possibly have to play. So I would not want to play Texas again, just from looking at it of a
They're gonna
I want to
they're gonna
win,
get better
I want to
too.
get to the playoffs, etc. You don't want to see a better Casey Thompson. You don't want to see Bijan because I don't know if you hold him twice to 130 yards or whatever he had.
Worthy picked us apart. Does that happen again?
Got 216 yards or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
If we can't come up with a solution, and back to that, because you mentioned that earlier, Lucas, I wanted to say something about it. I think that there's
I'm not afraid of playing them.
No, I
But
got
if
you.
you're just picking who you're going to play against, I don't think you want to play
And-
Texas again.
we're not going to probably face. I don't know if we'll face another receiving threat as good as Worthy, honestly, in the regular season.
Yeah, probably.
So we probably do need to do some adjustment to protect against getting picked on there in that cornerback's position. But maybe we do that, and maybe we shore that up.
Maybe Washington comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe
so,
you don't play a
So who do you
field-
want to play then?
Maybe you don't play a field.
You don't want to
boundary
play
corner,
Texas
you-
for
you
good
just-
reasons.
You have Graham cover the guy no matter what side of the field he lines up
Yeah.
on. I don't know.
I like your reasons, Jay. You don't want to play Texas. Who do you want to play?
Anybody else, I don't care. I just think from a talent perspective,
Well,
OU
pick
and Texas.
Baylor.
Well, who's it going to be? Or who has the best shots? It's going to be
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
State,
State.
Baylor, Iowa State, or Texas, and throw out Texas.
I don't really want to play Iowa State twice either.
I don't want to play OSU on back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, I think that's
I wouldn't
horrible
want to do it
scheduling.
just because for that reason. I don't back-to-back
Yeah.
games. I just
Yeah.
think it's dumb. I don't know. I don't think you'd be very fired up for it in a weird way.
It's scary. It's scary in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I guess Baylor or Iowa State.
Now, give us a realistic answer, Lucas.
I mean, I feel the same way as that. I don't want to play Texas again, talent-wise. Not scared of them, but just for ease of winning. I mean, they just pushed us to the brink. I would have to say Iowa State, OSU. The OSU thing back-to-backs is bad planning.
It is.
So,
Obviously, I think all of us would go with.
or I mean, if we lose to one of those teams, that's who I want to face to get the revenge.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
So, well, yeah, you definitely want to get
Lose to
vengeance
Baylor, we
against
lose
whoever
to
you
OSU.
lose
Whichever
to.
one of those teams we lose to, I want the revenge.
So I would say that emotionally, I want to play and beat Texas. That's my first instinct there, in agreement with Connor. I love the idea that we can chip away in 2 games in 1 year at their relative margin of or number of victories over us. Right now we're down to 8. They've beaten us 8 more times than we've beaten them. We can make that 7. That said, I agree with that sentiment. They're definitely the most talented team. They're going to get better. They're the scariest team. Now, maybe we just should take the attitude we want to play the best. And
Well, plus it's just soul crushing to
it
beat
is
them
very
again.
difficult.
Get them in-
Oh, I don't mind that. I don't mind beating them
Exactly.
again.
It would be glorious.
That's a positive.
And we spotted them 14 in this game.
That's
so-
right.
Yeah.
And then 21 when we realized they needed more help.
And I don't think they want to face an improved Caleb either. But
Yeah. But I would say that I don't like the way the others line up. I worry about us not getting up for other teams.
Yeah.
We will definitely get up for Texas. Getting up for OSU and all the other parts of the elements of the emotions of OSU, that's really tough.
Have we ever failed to get up for a Big 12 title game? I mean, really? None that I can.
Hard to say. I don't think that's probably
Like
the
the
case.
new
How many
Big 12
we-
title game?
I mean, how many have we lost?
The
With
new?
03
Yeah, the new
Kansas
one.
State game.
Yeah, that was something
That
goofy.
wasn't. We weren't up for it. It was just
Well, I don't know about
we
up.
didn't play great.
I think
Jason White
to me
got
that's one and the same because I don't buy the idea that you just got to wake up that morning and want it and work hard. No, it's your preparation all week. So I think that we weren't up for that game, meaning we did not prepare properly for that
Okay.
game, and I worry that I have no doubt that we would prepare properly for Texas, measurably better than any of these
Am I
other
forgetting
teams.
another Big 12 loss? Championship?
No, but you might be
That's the
forgetting tight games that didn't have to be so tight. Nebraska,
Yeah.
TCU, Iowa State last year. Those are tighter games.
Overtime against Baylor.
Texas came down to it.
These are
Texas.
tighter games than they otherwise have to
Brown
be.
blitzing on the
Yeah,
safety.
for sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, it's going to be a tight game, and I think our edge over those teams in the past was so much, and it probably is not a factor. But I don't know. Probably if I had to choose from the standpoint of strategy, I'd say Iowa State or Baylor.
Same.
But
this
I'd
is
love
this
to play
is
Texas
slightly
again,
off topic,
beat
but
'em.
sort of. I said it last week. I was worried about this Texas game because I feel like they play harder. Do you guys think that we come out way too flat for this game and have for several years?
Yeah, that's a good point. Back to criticism sort of Riley, really, when you say last few years. One, you talk about the new wrinkles on offense, like that new punt scheme. We come up in a new punt formation and the first one's blocked. That's frustrating. I don't know.
I mean, we looked like we were in quicksand and they were on fire. I mean, they were pumped.
I disagree because I think that one was a fluky, busted play. I don't think that was coming out flat. I think that was just making mistakes for their first touchdown. I think that the block punt was just being too cute by half and trying to come up with a wrinkle that maybe just backfired on you. I don't know. Maybe they look at the others and say they were great. One of them was a 100-yard punt. So I don't know. But that's more your punter, right, than anything else. Maybe there's a fake they wanted to run out of that, and we didn't get to see it. The rest is just Rattler and our offense and where we've been all year. So I don't think it's something unique necessarily to this game. I think it's kind of everything. I don't know. I mean, I think in years where we exploded against Texas, they didn't underprepare or come out flat or like not take it seriously. I wouldn't accuse them of that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of it, especially this year and even last year, right? It's just you're not getting it done with your main guy. And I 2019 with Hurts, I feel like we came out pretty pumped.
Yeah, started good.
So Kyler's year was a weird year for sure, where it was. I think there were some early turnovers and some mistakes.
And I would count that as coming out flat when you don't even show up with a defense for the entire game.
Yeah, that as well.
And they're out eating corn dogs.
I don't even think we were flat. We just weren't there.
So yeah, I don't know. That's a good take. I mean, that's a good.
Good
That game is so emotionally built as it is,
Yeah.
and the swings back and forth of momentum and emotion play a massive role in just not only what happens on the field, but just what you look like as a team. So clearly yesterday we probably looked flat because, it just wasn't going our way up front. So I don't know. It was fun. That was one of the most amazing experiences at a football game I've ever had. That's right up there with
It's remarkable.
Texas Tech 08. The emotions were unbelievable.
It was so amazing to see. The crowd was so amazing on both sides.
That's the loudest I've ever heard it.
When they had, yeah, for sure. I don't think there's any way it could have been louder because, well, especially at that one point in the game where both our fans and their fans were really going at it. And it was, I guess it was before we took the lead, or tied it rather. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a timeout or something, and everybody was cheering. It was loud.
Yeah,
they're doing their thing. We're doing our
there
thing.
was a Texas
fight.
strong. Yeah, Texas fight. Yeah. That was
Did you hear
awesome.
that, Jay?
That was so cool.
No.
Oh, you did.
Oh,
He
how
wasn't
did you
there.
not hear that? Oh, that's right. You were all the way back in Oklahoma.
I'm surprised they couldn't hear it when Kenny Brooks scored.
That's true. Well, so
Well, I
April's
thought you were asking
here.
about something specific. Just the noise in general. You could hear the
No, I was
noise in
talking
general.
about during the TV timeout when we were Boomer and Sooner and back and forth.
No, I couldn't hear that.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Well,
I was in the air conditioned and I was getting a refill of my beverage. And
see, we were suffering with the
I
team.
wasn't standing in urine while I was urinating.
They needed us yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
was
there.
surprised at how
I don't know if we
upbeat-
get there.
There were some moments when the crowd really
Yes.
upbeat when we were down by 18, like cheering the team on. I think it looked like the players
Yes.
recognized
Oh, absolutely, they did.
I'm
We did not
yeah,
quit on
that
our
was
team,
awesome.
and
was
it was
awesome.
amazing. And I
didn't
guarantee
quit
you,
on us.
it's 100% Caleb Williams.
and they didn't quit.
If
on
it's not Caleb Williams in there, all of us would have quit on it. But our enthusiasm and hope for the future was just extraordinarily different, and they fed off that energy for sure. It was an incredible atmosphere. I've been to 38 of them. I've seen a lot of things. I would say that it was a smaller stadium then. They hadn't expanded it. 2001 was probably a year you'd rival on a per-person basis or some measure equating the two. It was about that loud. And it was obviously because it was a game that went right down to the wire pretty much. There's been a few others, but I don't know. That was pretty amazing. It was sensationally cool. One of the best games I've ever seen in person for sure. It was awesome. Glad I didn't miss it.
Me too.
I've only been to one, so it doesn't really matter. I've missed a lot of them.
And the fair still sucks.
Fair still sucks.
Too many people.
I'm sweating thinking
Too many
about it.
people, and too rough of a situation.
Dangerous.
There's a lot of people that don't go to that game and have a lot of vested interest out of somewhere to keep it there and keep everything the way it is, and that really bothers me. Anything else to do before we wrap it up and looking ahead to TCU? Maybe try to get a midweek pod out this week. We'll see.
Yeah, let's start praying now for Caleb to be out there on Saturday. Shot out there on the first play. I'm very hopeful.
I'm hopeful for the success of both Caleb and Spencer,
Right.
and obviously the team. And I got a lot of faith that it's going to get better from here. All right. Anything else?
All good. Boomer
That's
Sooner.
good. Boomer Sooner.
Yep.
Go.
Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Center.